Hey man, absolutely. I think parents are always looking for some more advice. Now, we're talking smartphones this morning. Now, smartphone users, we can't deny the fact that they're getting younger by the day, but at what point do we stop and ask ourselves, is there an age limit to these technologies? Smartphones, they are changing the way our youth are engaging with their work. And this morning, Dr. Annandale is here to shed some light on the matter with us. Doctor, thank you so much for joining us this morning and helping us parents out in a dire need of some really, really good advice. The average age at which youngsters are getting smartphones, tablets nowadays, what would you say that is?
My general experience, I think smartphones about 12, tablets much younger.
Yeah.
Mostly about from the age of 6, a lot of children have exclusive use of a tablet.
Look, I won't lie, I'm a little bit guilty of this, especially with my boy when things get really busy, just quickly play on the iPad for a little bit, let me just have a breather. But I mean, let's talk social development. A lot of kids, they're stuck with their faces to the screens. I mean, how does that impact their development growing up?
Look, from a certain age, I mean, it's quite a good thing to have those social apps. We can get together, children can start organizing social events. The problem is that it actually impacts on the quality of those social gatherings. Quite often they'll sit next to each other and everyone's playing on their sort of cell phone or smartphone but not interacting with each other. It contributes to obesity. We know that it definitely has an impact on the way that people interact with each other.
Yeah. I think it's such a fine line between, how much is too much and how much is necessary, because if you take a look at youngsters nowadays in schools, they do use tablets, especially for their homeworks, their projects, so they need to be able to use these kind of technologies. But in terms of your family dynamics, to bring it back to the home environment, I mean, how does that impact the whole family when I think parents are just freely giving smartphones and tablets? I mean, what happens?
I think the most important thing is the amount of time that it actually takes away from parent-child interactions. We already live in a time where we are so stressed for time, we don't get time together, and the little bit of free time, if everyone's sitting in their own little worlds, that's a problem. It can impact on the quality of that relationship. Instead of asking your parent, you might just be asking Google.
Yeah.
So those kind of things have definitely changed, and we need to be aware of that.
Yeah, and of course the communication between parent and children, I mean, that's also a big thing because, that is so necessary for their development. So in your experience, I mean, to give us parents at home some very handy advice on how to approach this issue, I mean, what would you say? What are some of your top tips for us?
I think overall what we see seems to work the best is to limit their access. Most people are saying, look, I'm going to give you this. We can't get away from the fact that technology is changing so rapidly and that our children are going to be exposed to it. But limit the amount of time they spend on it. Perhaps keep the chargers in your room. Don't allow them smartphone use in the week. Limit the amount of data they have, the amount of voice they have, just those sort of things.
And this extends into, playing games on TV, and it's the same kind of thing. So what happens when you have the tablet? Because we know that, children, they have a mind of their own. If you want to take away that tablet or, switch the TV off, there's a tantrum coming. It's kind of, how do you deal with that? What is the best way, would you say?
I think to set those boundaries from the start. If your children know to expect that they're going to have half an hour, and then after that you're going to take it away. I'm not saying that you're not going to have the tantrums, but I think that's the best way in which to deal with it.
Once again, I think, like I always say for the advice for the parents, just take a deep breath and then carry on with it. Doctor, thank you so much for joining us this morning. This really is a tough topic, I think, for parents going into or living in the modern day and age. Thank you so much. And there you have it, some great advice for your parents out there when it comes to the smartphone, the use of smartphones and technology when it comes to your young ones. Remember, set those boundaries and make sure you pull through and deal with it. And like I always say, take a breath. Right, next up on your Feel Good Breakfast Show, some music. It's time for Expresso Amped. So what do you have?